Kandahar, the underground sci-fi fantasy gem. Introduction. Disney tends to fall back to old-school fairy tales, while Pixar shows us a child's perspective of life, and Studio Ghibli tends to inspire us. Lelou's animated films are unlike any of this. Leloup makes the audience engage in concepts that cannot be expressed through any other form than animation. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Plot synopsis. Kandahar is an amalgamation of the two genres of science fiction and fantasy, written and directed by René Leloup, which was based on the 1969 Jean-Pierre Andrevon novel Les Hommes Machines contre Kandahar, or The Machine Men vs. Kandahar in English. It was also the third and final feature film that Leloup made. The English version, The Light Years, is a few minutes shorter, which was edited for the American audience and was adopted by the very well-known science fiction author Isaac Asimov, directed by the now infamous Harvey Weinstein, and produced by his elder brother Bob Weinstein through Miramax Films. The classical and ambient score composed by the Lebanese-French composer Gabriel Yared was also replaced in the English version by progressive rock synth score, which was created with the combined efforts of Jack Maybe, Bob DeWitt, and Jim Klein. It was dubbed by American actors such as Jennifer Grey of Dirty Dancing, Bridget Fonda, Glenn Close, Christopher Plummer, Penn Jillette, and the brilliant John Shea from Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, who voiced the lead character of Sylvain in Kandahar. The movie is set on the planet Kandahar, which is portrayed as a utopian society and landscape where residents mostly live off nature and live a peaceful existence free from wars, crime, and other pathologies and civilizations that societies are encumbered with. They have been able to construct almost a Garden of Eden in this futuristic society, but it eventually falls into disarray when an unknown enemy attacks the planet. Sylvain, who is a hero to the people of Kandahar, is sent by the Queen Ambisextra to find out the nature of this threat and how to stop it when a bunch of robotic metal men start shooting lasers at the people of Kandahar, turning everyone into stone. Sylvain's journey made him travel through the different ecosystems of Kandahar, which is fantastically illustrated in the film and is very immersive. Through his travel, he finds himself in contact with a community of mutants known as the Deformed. He finds out that they were a product of the genetic experiments of the scientists of the same community that Sylvain belonged to. They were cast out into the wilderness and underworld, out of sight of the rest of the Kandaharians. These people, the Deformed, possessed a unique perception of time where they could experience the past, present, and future simultaneously, which also affected their language and the way they spoke. In their speech, they discuss events in the past and future rather than in the present. This results in us, the audience, coming across some very interesting linguistic phrases when we hear the Deformed speak. These people, even though initially perceived as the enemy, become Sylvain's ally and help him through the rest of his journey against the Metal Men. When these Metal Men made him a prisoner, he met Ariel, a fellow Kandaharian woman, inside the egg-shaped prison cell. This leads to love and sexual encounter between the two Kandaharians, the latter of which was cut from the English version. They find the Metal Men's base, where they find the Door of Time, through which the Kandaharians who were turned to stone were sent through to 1,000 years in the future. They both see a boat on the ocean and hide in there to see where it leads. This made them encounter Metamorphosis, who is a giant brain. They are both captured by it and then are confronted with it, where Metamorphosis explains that he doesn't know why the Metal Men worship him, that he did not create them, and that he's trying to figure out why they think that Metamorphosis gave them the orders to do the terrible things to the Kandaharians. Metamorphosis then releases them and helps them travel to Jasper, an event which makes Ariel question the earlier perceived evil intention of Metamorphosis. In Jasper, they learn that just like the Deformed, Metamorphosis was also a creation of the Kandaharian scientists and that he was abandoned in the ocean because of his rapid growth and his violent behavior. Sylvain is then given a syringe made by the Kandaharian scientists to kill Metamorphosis, and he travels back to see him. He then learns that Metamorphosis was innocent in the present, but his 1,000 years future self had made the Metal Men and sent them back through the Door of Time, present, in order to capture the Kandaharians and take them back to the future. Sylvain also learns that the syringe would not affect the younger Metamorphosis. He urged Sylvain to travel to the future and kill his older self, as he didn't want to live as a tyrant. Sylvain agrees to this and is sent into stasis by Metamorphosis. Sylvain wakes up after 1,000 years and comes across the Deformed first, who were using the exoskeleton of the dead Metal Men as weapons. He learns the true nature of the Metal Men from them. The captured Kandaharians can be used to regenerate the dead cells of the old Metamorphosis by absorbing the Kandaharians, as his advanced age had made him incapable of regenerating on his own. The metal was a byproduct of dead cells of Metamorphosis metallizing over time. Meanwhile, the Deformed were not absorbed as they were considered undesirable. This time, the Deformed and Sylvain formed an alliance to fight off the Metal Men. They successfully fight off the Metal Men together, while Sylvain goes to face Metamorphosis alone, believing that Metamorphosis would remember the task he gave to Sylvain 1,000 years prior to the current incident. At the same time, the Deformed cut off the power source, feeding Metamorphosis through which he harnessed the Gundaharians. Sylvain injected Metamorphosis with a syringe while he was distracted. After defeating Metamorphosis, Sylvain and the Deformed travel through the Door of Time, returning to Sylvain's own time. Jasper and the rest of Gandahar is safe from the Metal Men. There are obvious allusions to the struggle of the anti-fascists against fascism and Nazism in the movie, as René Laloux himself was raised during the Nazi occupation of France during World War II. In the movie, the entity Metamorphosis was worshipped as a god by the Metal Men. He runs their totalitarian regimes and passes on orders to be carried out by them. Following his orders, the Metal Men wage war against the Gundaharians and their sense of individuality in favor of a culture based on submission and subservience, which becomes apparent in the scene where one Metal Man is giving a motivational speech to the battalions of Metal Men in front of the Door of Time, shouting out, "I am you are us are him." As the imprisoned residents of Gandahar are sent to the future, it is explained that, as the older Metamorphosis could not regenerate his dead cells, he used the Gundaharians to do it by harnessing them, and eventually discarding them once they weren't useful anymore. This is an obvious allusion to the concentration camps of Nazi Germany. Both the Deformed and Metamorphosis can be compared with Frankenstein's monster, who were discarded by their creators and cast into exile. Although the former does not become too much antagonistic to the parent civilization, the latter does eventually with time. The Gundaharian culture is portrayed as a matriarchal society and ruled by the Council of Women. Meanwhile, the Metal Men are showed as a patriarchal society that rewards collectivity, following Metamorphosis as their leader and god, who is illustrated as a phallic symbol in the movie. Standing apart from the pack. This is a must for all science fiction fans, and to appreciate the film truly, one must be into science fiction. It tells a very human story of scientific irresponsibility, human ignorance, and the question of inevitability, which takes place in a completely alien and futuristic setting. A good deal of the movie involves dialogue, so the movie is very involved with these topics, more than most science fiction movies are. Laloux is one of the very few animation filmmakers who treat their audience like adults instead of children. The movie contains the typically bizarre features of Laloux's work, like brain cells changing and forming different shapes, a naked woman suckling a weird and strange animal, and a tribe of people who are a result of a mishap. How Laloux represents the visualization of the world of Gandahar and its inhabitants is what really makes the movie worth seeing. It's also a visual treat alongside being intellectually engaging. Conclusion. Laloux tried to get this project off the ground since his equally bizarre movie Fantastic Planet became a huge hit. He finally succeeded when a North Korean studio agreed to animate his movie unexpectedly and for cheap. The animation in the film is somewhat stiff, which is understandable as it is most likely a low-budget production, but it more than makes up for it by the richly detailed illustration, which is deeply engrossing and full of vibrancy. The movie portrays pretty common themes in science fiction such as scientific responsibility, morality, civilizations created and destroyed, the struggle between individuality and collectivity, and time paradoxes, but rarely has it been described so poetically. We as the audience are also spared the lengthy passages of explanatory dialogue that often halt the plot. The film isn't exactly what we expect from the genre of animation either. All in all, it's a delightful watch for all fans of science fiction or fantasy. It challenges the viewer to reach their own conclusion at the end of the film. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.